The research vessel. Darwin's Hope drifted through the empty darkness between stars, its hull gleaming under distant starlight. Inside the observation deck, Dr. Emma Walsh pressed her face against the reinforced glass, watching the coordinates where the alien ship was supposed to appear. Her breath fogged the window, and she wiped it away with her sleeve, leaving a small smear. "Still nothing?" Jake Morrison asked from behind her, his boots clicking against the metal floor as he walked over. "Nothing yet," Emma said, tucking a strand of frizzy brown hair behind her ear. It immediately sprang back out. She had given up trying to look presentable hours ago. They said 1,400 hours. It's 1430 now. "Maybe they got cold feet," Jake suggested, leaning against the wall with his arms crossed. "Yeah, first contact is scary for everyone, right?" Emma nodded, though her stomach was doing flips. She had spent her entire career studying the possibility of alien life, analyzing radio signals and examining distant planets for biosignatures. Now that contact was actually happening, she felt completely unprepared. She glanced down at her rumpled uniform, at the coffee stain on her sleeve, at her short fingernails bitten down from nervous habit. "Do I look okay?" she asked suddenly. Jake laughed. "You look like a scientist who hasn't slept in 2 days because she's about to meet aliens. So yeah, you look perfect." Before Emma could respond, the ship's computer chimed. "Spatial distortion detected. Unknown vessel approaching." Everyone on the observation deck rushed to the windows. Even Commander Lisa Park, who had been calmly reviewing protocols at a nearby console, stood up and moved closer. The empty space in front of them began to shimmer like heat waves on asphalt. Then, with no sound at all, a ship appeared. It was beautiful. That was Emma's first thought. The vessel looked like it had been grown rather than built, all smooth curves and organic shapes. Its surface seemed to shift colors, moving from deep purple to bright green to silver. "They're hailing us," Lisa said, her voice steady despite the historical moment. Audio and visual. The main screen flickered to life, and Emma forgot to breathe. The alien standing before them was unlike anything she had imagined. It stood upright on 4 legs, its body covered in what looked like crystalline plates that caught the light and scattered it into rainbows. Its head was elongated, eye with multiple dark eyes arranged in a curved pattern. When it moved, its body made soft chiming sounds like wind through glass. "Greetings, humans of the vessel Darwin's Hope," the alien said, its voice melodic and strange. "I am Ambassador Keir Shala of the Velthari Collective. We come in peace and curiosity." Lisa stepped forward, her military training keeping her composed. "Welcome, Ambassador. I am Commander Lisa Park. On behalf of humanity, we are honored to meet you." Keir Shala's crystalline plates shifted, creating new patterns of light. Emma wondered if this was their equivalent of a smile. "The honor is ours, Commander. We have traveled far to witness this moment. To see you with our own eyes is overwhelming." There was something odd about the way Kirshala said that last part, but Emma couldn't quite place it. The ambassador's dark eyes seemed to be scanning the observation deck, pausing on each human present. "We have prepared a delegation to visit your vessel, if you permit," Lisa said. "We have many questions about your people and your culture." "And we have many questions about yours," Kirshala replied. Then those eyes fixed on Emma, who was standing slightly behind the commander. "Particularly about your physical forms. They are extraordinary." Emma blinked. "Extraordinary?" She looked around at her crewmates, wondering if she had misheard. Dr. Henry Cole, the cultural liaison, looked just as confused as she felt. "Thank you," Lisa said carefully. "We would be happy to discuss human biology during our meeting." "Magnificent," Kirshala breathed, still staring at Emma. "Your facial symmetry, the forward placement of your optical organs, the expressive mobility of your features, we have never encountered anything so radiant." Emma's face grew hot. Were they talking about her specifically? She was the least impressive person on the deck. Her nose had a bump from when she broke it playing soccer in high school. Her eyes were an unremarkable brown. She had freckles scattered across her cheeks that she had always thought made her look childish. "We will prepare to receive your delegation," Lisa said, a hint of confusion creeping into her professional tone. Shall we say in 1 hour? Every moment until then will feel like an eternity, Kirshala said. To be in the presence of such beauty is a gift we do not take lightly. The screen went dark. For a moment, nobody in the observation deck said anything. Then Jake started laughing. Hey, did that alien just call us beautiful? He asked, grinning widely. I think there's a translation error, Henry said, pulling up his datapad. Beauty is a complex cultural concept. Maybe their word means something different. But Emma was thinking about the way Kirshala had looked at her. There had been something like wonder in those alien eyes, something that made her deeply uncomfortable. She was a scientist, not a model. She wore the same practical uniform every day and kept her hair short because it was easier to manage. The idea that an advanced alien species found her radiant was absurd. Emma, you okay? Jake asked, noticing her expression. Fine, she lied. Just processing. Lisa called everyone to attention. All right, people. First contact protocol. We have 1 hour to prepare. I want a full security sweep. Yeah, medical standing by and someone get those cultural briefing files ready. This is humanity's first meeting with an alien intelligence. Let's not mess it up. As everyone scattered to their duties, Emma stayed at the window, watching the Velthari ship float in the darkness. Something about this encounter felt off, but she couldn't explain what. She caught her reflection in the glass and stared at it critically. Plain face, tired eyes, nothing special at all. So why had the ambassador looked at her like she was the most incredible thing in the universe? The meeting room had been prepared with careful attention to detail. Emma sat at the long conference table between Henry and Jake, trying not to fidget with her datapad. Across from them sat 3 Velthari, their crystalline bodies refracting the overhead lights into dancing patterns on the walls. Ambassador Kirshala was in the center, flanked by 2 others who had been introduced as scholars. Your vessel is most practical, Kirshala said, those dark eyes sweeping across the utilitarian gray walls. But tell me, do humans not decorate their spaces with images of themselves? We had read in your broadcast that you create art. We do, Henry confirmed, activating his datapad to show some examples. Paintings, sculptures, photographs. Art is an important part of human culture. The 3 Velthari leaned forward as one, their crystalline plates chiming softly. When Henry displayed a classical painting of a human face, one of the scholars made a sound like wind whistling through a canyon. Remarkable, the scholar breathed. The symmetry, the proportion. You capture this and display it because you understand its value. Emma frowned. Well, we create portraits for lots of reasons. Historical record, personal meaning, artistic expression. But you see the beauty, yes? Kirshala asked, tilting its head in a distinctly bird-like manner. You must see it in each other, in yourself, Dr. Walsh. There it was again, that focus on her specifically. Emma shifted uncomfortably in her seat. I'm just a regular person, Ambassador. Nothing special. All 3 Velthari made that whistling sound at once. It took Emma a moment to realize they were shocked. You consider yourself ordinary? One of the scholars asked. How is this possible when you possess such exquisite facial features? Jake coughed to hide a laugh. Emma shot him a look before turning back to the aliens. Ambassador, I think there might be a cultural misunderstanding here. Humans have different standards of beauty. I'm pretty average by our measures. Average, Kirshala repeated the word slowly, as if tasting it. We do not understand. You have bilateral symmetry. Your eyes face forward, allowing for depth perception and focus. Your facial structure follows mathematical ratios we have only seen in theoretical models. Your skin changes color to express emotion. How can this be average? Henry was typing frantically on his datapad, his academic mind clearly racing. Ambassador, could you tell us more about Velthari aesthetics? What do your people consider beautiful? Kirshala's plates shifted, creating a new pattern of light. We do not have this concept as you do. Our forms are functional. These crystalline shells protect us from our world's radiation. They are necessary, not chosen. We never considered whether they were beautiful or not until we encountered species like yours. Like ours? Emma asked. You've met other aliens? Many, Kirshala confirmed. The galaxy is more populated than your people yet know. And all of us had the same reaction when we first saw images of humans in your radio broadcasts. We were stunned. Before Emma could process this, the door to the meeting room opened. Commander Lisa entered with a guest, another alien that made Emma's breath catch. This one was reptilian, covered in overlapping scales of deep red and black. It moved on powerful hind legs with smaller arms held close to its chest. When it saw the humans, it stopped dead in its tracks. "I need by the ancient fires," the reptilian alien said, its voice a deep rumble. The images did not do them justice. "This is Velcroth of the Scaroth Dominion," Lisa said, looking somewhat bewildered. "They arrived an hour ago requesting permission to meet with us." Velcroth moved closer, circling the table slowly. Its large eyes, vertical slitted like a cat's, studied each human carefully. When it reached Emma, it lowered its head in what might have been a bow. "Would you permit me to create an artistic representation of your form?" Velcroth asked. "I am a creator of images among my people. I would offer substantial compensation for this honor." "I'm sorry, what?" Emma managed. "Your face," Velcroth said. "I wish to capture it, to study the proportions and share them with my world. We have artists, but we have never had subjects worthy of such attention." Jake was grinning openly now. Henry looked fascinated. Lisa appeared to be struggling to maintain her diplomatic composure. Emma felt like she had fallen into some kind of bizarre dream. "This is happening to all of you, isn't it?" she asked her crewmates. "They're not just focused on me?" "The Scaroth delegation specifically asked to meet you," Lisa admitted. "By name. Apparently, they studied the crew manifest from our initial broadcasts." Kirshala chimed in. "Dr. Walsh, you must understand. Your species is unique in ways you cannot see yourselves. Most intelligent species evolved for survival. The Scaroth developed thick scales and powerful jaws to fight predators. My people grew crystalline armor against radiation. The Deneb, who are arriving tomorrow, you'll live underwater and have sensor arrays instead of eyes. But humans," Velcroth continued, "evolved to read each other. Your faces move and change to show what you feel. Your eyes can convey meaning with a glance. You are built for communication, for connection. This is precious beyond measure." Henry was nodding slowly. "I think I understand. You're saying that most species evolved with pure survival needs, but humans evolved socially. Our features serve emotional and social purposes." "Precisely," Kirshala said. "And the result is a form that balances function with what you call beauty. You cannot see it because you are surrounded by it. But to us, every human face is like a work of art that also serves a purpose." Emma sat back in her chair, her mind reeling. She thought about her freckles, her frizzy hair, her stocky build, on things she had never considered attractive. But these aliens were looking at her like she was a masterpiece. "How many other species are out there?" Lisa asked quietly. "Thousands," Kirshala replied. "And when word spreads that we have made contact with humans, many more will come. You should prepare yourselves." "Prepare for what?" Jake asked. Velcroth's scaled face somehow managed to look sympathetic. "For being the most sought-after species in the known galaxy." The meeting room fell silent except for the soft chiming of Kirshala's crystalline plates and the quiet hum of the ship's systems. Emma looked at her reflection in the polished table surface and saw the same face she had always seen. She still could not understand what they saw that she could not. 3 days later, but the space around Darwin's Hope looked like a crowded parking lot. 7 alien vessels floated in a loose formation, each representing a different species that had come to see the humans. Emma stood in the observation deck, counting the ships for the 5th time, still unable to believe what was happening. "Another one just jumped in," Jake said, pointing to a shimmer in space where an 8th vessel was materializing. "This is getting out of hand." Emma nodded, watching as a sleek, silver ship appeared. Her data pad buzzed with another request for a meeting. She had 17 unread messages, all from alien delegations wanting FaceTime with the crew. She felt exhausted and confused and more than a little angry. "They're treating us like attractions at a zoo," she muttered. "Or more like celebrities," Danny Costa said from his position by the door. The security officer had been assigned to escort Emma everywhere after an overenthusiastic Velthari had tried to follow her back to her quarters. At least zoo animals get privacy. The door opened and Nicole Barnes rushed in, her engineer's uniform rumpled and her blonde hair pulled back in a messy ponytail. "Emma, you need to see this. They're offering us jobs." "What kind of jobs?" Emma asked. Nicole held up her data pad, scrolling through what looked like employment contracts. Aesthetic consultants. The Deneb want humans to help redesign their underwater cities. The Skaroth are offering a year's salary just to have a human advise on their public architecture. Look at these numbers. Emma leaned over to read the screen and her eyes widened. The amounts were staggering, enough to make someone wealthy for life. "This can't be real." "It's real," Nicole said. "And it's not just architecture. They want human input on everything from ship design to clothing to art. They're saying that having a human perspective would revolutionize their cultures." Jake whistled low. "We could solve Earth's economic problems with this kind of money. Or create new ones," Emma countered. She felt a knot forming in her stomach. "This feels wrong. They're not interested in our science or our achievements. They just want to look at us and have us validate their aesthetic choices." "Does it matter?" Nicole asked, and there was an edge to her voice. "Emma, I have student loans. My family is struggling back on Earth. If some aliens want to pay me a fortune to tell them if a building looks nice, well, why shouldn't I take it?" Emma did not have a good answer to that. She understood the temptation. The practical part of her brain pointed out that this could help a lot of people. But something deeper bothered her, something she could not quite articulate. Her datapad buzzed again. This time it was Henry requesting her presence in the secondary conference room. She excused herself, with Danny following close behind as her shadow. Henry was not alone when she arrived. A being unlike any she had seen before floated in the center of the room. It had no solid form, just a cloud of silvery gas contained within some kind of energy field. Colors swirled within the cloud, shifting and changing like an aurora. "Dr. Walsh," the being said, its voice emanating from a small device attached to the containment field. "I am Shesrin of the Nephil. I wish to speak with you specifically." "Why me?" Emma asked, though she already suspected the answer. "Because you are troubled by the attention your species has received," Shesrin said. The colors in the cloud shifted to deep blue. "I can sense emotional states through chemical signatures in the air. You feel what you would call conflicted." Emma sat down heavily in a chair. "Your people are treating us like we're some kind of miracle. But we're just people. We didn't do anything special. We just evolved on our planet like everyone else." "And that is precisely what makes you special," Shesrin said. The cloud pulsed gently. "Let me explain something about galactic history. Most intelligent species evolved in hostile environments. They developed traits for survival, for defense, for camouflage. Beauty, as you understand it, was irrelevant. It served no evolutionary purpose." Henry was nodding, his academic interest clearly piqued. "So most species never developed aesthetic appreciation?" "We had function," Shesrin confirmed. "We built things that worked. We created art, but it was abstract, intellectual. We never had faces to inspire portrait painting. We never had bodies that moved with what you call grace. The concept of physical beauty was theoretical to us. Until you saw humans," Emma said quietly. "Until we saw humans," Shesrin agreed, "and we realized what we had been missing. You evolved on a world that required social cooperation. Your features developed to communicate emotion, to build trust, to form bonds. The result is a form that serves a purpose but also creates harmony. What you call the golden ratio appears in your facial proportions. Your movements are efficient but also fluid. You are the intersection of purpose and form." Emma thought about this. She pictured the Velthari with their protective crystal shells, the Skaroth with their armored scales, the Nephil with no physical form at all, species shaped by harsh necessities, never considering whether they were pleasant to look at. "But this still does not explain why you're all so obsessed with us," she said. "Appreciating beauty is one thing. What's happening out there feels like something else." The cloud swirled, colors shifting to purple. "You are correct to be concerned. We Nephil are philosophers by nature. We have been studying the reactions of other species to humanity, and we have found disturbing patterns. What kind of patterns? Henry asked, leaning forward. Species that have been isolated are becoming obsessed. They see humans and want to possess that beauty, to own it, to control it. There are already markets forming, collectors offering obscene amounts of wealth for holographic recordings of individual humans. Some are proposing what they call appreciation reserves, where humans would be paid to simply exist and be observed. Emma felt sick. That's slavery with extra steps. Some humans are volunteering, Shesrin said gently. The compensation being offered is substantial. Can you blame those who are desperate? The door opened and Lisa entered, her expression grim. Emma, Henry, we have a situation. Earth government has been monitoring our communications. They want to send a diplomatic team. They're calling humanity's appearance a strategic resource. A resource? Emma repeated flatly. They see economic opportunity, Lisa continued. Soft power. They think we can use this to gain advantages in trade, in technology exchange, in political negotiations. Danny spoke up from his position by the door. Commander, I've got crew members asking if they can accept private contracts. They want to know if it's legal to hire themselves out as consultants. Everything was moving too fast. Emma felt like she was watching her species being commodified in real time, reduced from complex beings with art and science and philosophy to pretty things to be admired and traded. There's something else, Henry said, pulling up an old text on his datapad. I've been researching galactic history. There was a species called the Varane. They were beautiful by their own standards and became obsessed with their appearance. They devoted their entire civilization to maintaining and enhancing their beauty. Within 3 generations, they had collapsed completely. Shesrin's cloud darkened. We know this story. It is taught as a warning. Vanity destroys. Emma stood up abruptly. We need to address the Galactic Assembly, all of them, before this gets worse. And say what? Lisa asked. Emma looked at her reflection in the polished wall panel. She saw her tired eyes, her frizzy hair escaping its tie, her coffee-stained uniform. She saw a human being, flawed and complex and real. The truth, she said, that we're more than just a pretty face. The message from Earth arrived 2 hours later, and it changed everything. Emma sat in Lisa's office, watching the recorded transmission with a growing sense of dread. The man on the screen wore a crisp military uniform decorated with medals and insignia. He introduced himself as Captain Roger Flynn, Special Liaison for Extraterrestrial Affairs. Commander Park, Roger said in the recording, his voice smooth and confident. Earth Command has reviewed your reports with great interest. We are sending a team to assist with managing humanity's introduction to the galactic community. We believe this situation presents unprecedented opportunities for our species. Lisa paused the video and rubbed her temples. He makes it sound like a business venture. Keep watching, Emma said grimly. Lisa pressed play. Roger continued. We are also sending Vanessa Price, a specialist in public relations and image management. She will help coordinate how we present humanity to our new neighbors. We need to control the narrative and maximize the benefits of our unique position. The video ended. Emma and Lisa sat in silence for a moment. They want to turn us into a brand, Emma finally said. Can we really blame them? Lisa asked, though she sounded uncertain. Earth has resource problems, political tensions, environmental challenges. If our appearance can help solve some of those issues, shouldn't we use it? Before Emma could answer, Danny knocked on the door frame. Commander, we have another situation. A delegation from something called the Tarxis Consortium is requesting permission to dock. They're saying they have a business proposal. Lisa sighed. Send them to conference room 2. Emma, you should be there for this. The Tarxis representative was a creature that looked like a walking tree, with bark-like skin and branches instead of arms. It introduced itself as Grenvex and immediately launched into what could only be called a sales pitch. We represent a coalition of wealthy collectors and cultural enthusiasts, Grenvex explained, its voice creaking like wood in wind. We propose the creation of human cultural centers on various worlds. Humans would live there, go about their normal lives, and allow others to observe and appreciate them. In exchange, participating humans would receive substantial compensation, living accommodations, and complete freedom to pursue their interests. You want to put humans in zoos? Emma said flatly. Not zoos, Grenvex protested, its branches rustling. Reserves, sanctuaries, places where your people could live in comfort while sharing their beauty with the galaxy. Jake, who had joined them for the meeting, laughed without humor. And how much are you offering for these human exhibits? Grenvex named a figure that made everyone in the room go quiet. It was more money than most people on Earth would see in 10 lifetimes. Some of your people have already expressed interest, Grenvex continued. We have received inquiries from 300 humans who saw our initial broadcasts. They wish to volunteer. Emma felt her heart sink. 300 people desperate enough or opportunistic enough to essentially sell themselves. She could not entirely fault them. If she had family starving, if she had debts crushing her, would she make a different choice? We will consider your proposal, Lisa said diplomatically. But we need time to discuss this among our people and with Earth. After Grenvex left, the room erupted in argument. Nicole was surprisingly supportive of the idea. If people want to volunteer, why stop them? It's their choice. Is it really a choice if they're economically desperate? Emma countered. That's exploitation. Or opportunity, Nicole shot back. You're comfortable, Emma. You've got your career, your education. Some people don't have those options. Henry intervened before the argument could escalate. I think we're missing the bigger picture here. I've been analyzing historical data from the species Shesrin mentioned, the Varane. Their collapse wasn't just about vanity. It was about losing sight of what gave their lives meaning. He pulled up images on the display screen. Here they showed ruins of what must have been beautiful cities, now crumbling and empty. The Varane became so focused on appearance that they stopped innovating, stopped exploring, stopped creating anything of substance. Within 2 generations, their civilization stagnated. Within 3, it fell apart completely. The young ones had nothing to aspire to except being looked at. That won't happen to us, Nicole argued. We're smarter than that. Are we? Emma asked quietly. We've been contacted by aliens for less than a week, and we're already fighting about how to profit from our appearance. How long before that's all we're known for? The discussion was interrupted by another arrival. The Earth delegation had come early, and Vanessa Price wasted no time making her presence known. She swept into the conference room like she owned it. A tall woman with perfectly styled hair and a smile that never quite reached her eyes. Dr. Walsh, Vanessa said, extending a hand. I've heard so much about you. The face that launched 1,000 starships, as it were. Emma shook her hand reluctantly. I'm just a scientist. You're so much more than that now, Vanessa said, pulling out a tablet. You're humanity's ambassador of beauty, and we need to manage that carefully. I've prepared a comprehensive media strategy. Media strategy, Emma repeated. Of course. We need to control how humanity is perceived, curate our image, show the galaxy not just that we're beautiful, but that we're sophisticated, cultured, desirable partners for trade and alliance. Vanessa scrolled through her tablet. I'm thinking carefully staged cultural events, selected individuals as representatives, maybe some exclusive access deals with key species. Roger Flynn entered behind her, his military bearing a stark contrast to Vanessa's commercial enthusiasm. Commander Park, Dr. Walsh. Earth Command wants to establish protocols immediately. We're classifying human genetic information and physical data as protected resources. We need to prevent unauthorized replication or exploitation. You're treating us like intellectual property, Emma said, her voice rising. We're protecting our species' interests, Roger countered. Would you rather have unregulated markets trading in human images? Unauthorized cloning attempts? We need structure, control. We need dignity, Emma said firmly. We need to be treated as people, not assets. Vanessa smiled her empty smile. Of course you're people, Dr. Walsh. Valuable, beautiful people. That's exactly what makes this opportunity so remarkable. Emma looked around the room at all the faces staring at her. Jake looked troubled. Nicole looked torn. Henry looked thoughtful. Lisa looked tired. Danny stood by the door, his hand resting unconsciously on his weapon, as if physical threats were something he could actually defend against. But the real threat was not physical. It was the slow reduction of humanity to a single trait, valuable only for how they looked to others. I want to address the Galactic Assembly, Emma said again, more forcefully this time. Before Earth makes any agreements, before anyone signs any contracts, the aliens need to hear from us directly. That's not advisable, Roger began. I don't care if it's advisable, Emma interrupted. This is happening too fast and going in the wrong direction. If we don't set the terms now, someone else will set them for us, and I don't think we'll like the result. Lisa stood up, her commander's authority filling the room. Dr. Walsh is right. We arrange a general assembly. Every species currently in the area gets invited. Emma will speak for humanity. Commander, I must protest, Roger started. Protest noted and overruled, Lisa said. This is still my ship, Captain, and until Earth Command gives me a direct order otherwise, we do this Emma's way. Emma felt a surge of gratitude toward Lisa, but beneath it was a growing fear. She had asked for this chance to speak, but what would she actually say? How could she make them understand something she was still struggling to understand herself? The main hangar bay of Darwin's Hope had been converted into an assembly hall. Alien delegations filled the space, a bizarre collection of crystalline beings, scaled reptiles, gaseous clouds, and creatures Emma could not even categorize. Holographic screens floated throughout the bay so that representatives on distant ships could also watch. Emma stood on a raised platform, feeling incredibly small and very alone. Her hands were shaking. She gripped the podium to steady herself and looked out at the hundreds of alien eyes watching her. Waiting. Expecting her to be everything they imagined humans to be. She cleared her throat and began. Thank you all for coming. I know you came from distant worlds to see us, to see humans. And I understand that when you look at us, you see beauty. You see something you have never encountered before. Emma paused, choosing her words carefully. But I need to tell you what you are not seeing. The hangar fell completely silent. Even the usual chiming of Velthari crystals and the rustling of Tarxus branches stopped. You look at my face, and you see symmetry, proportion, mathematical ratios that please your senses. But you do not see the history written there. These eyes were shaped by millions of years of humans learning to read each other's emotions, to build trust, to work together when working alone meant death. This nose breathes the air of a world that tried to kill my ancestors with disease, with predators, with storms and droughts and ice ages. Emma touched her cheek, feeling the freckles she had always disliked. These marks on my skin are from a star that burned too bright sometimes, that forced us to adapt and change. The brown color of my eyes came from ancestors who needed to see in bright sunlight while hunting for food to feed their children. Every feature you find beautiful came from struggle, from pain, from survival. She saw Kirshala leaning forward, the ambassador's crystalline plates shifting to new patterns. Velcroth had stopped moving entirely, frozen in attention. You say we are gorgeous, but gorgeous is not what we are. We are stubborn. We are creative. We are violent and peaceful, kind and cruel, brilliant and foolish. We have built cities that touch the sky and then destroyed them in wars. We have created art that makes us weep and weapons that make us monsters. We have cured diseases and invented new ways to hurt each other. This is humanity. All of it. Not just the pretty parts. Emma pulled out her datapad and projected images onto the screens around the hangar. Pictures of Earth appeared, the good and the terrible. Beautiful sunsets over cities. War zones filled with rubble. Children laughing in parks. Homeless people sleeping on streets. Art museums. Prisons. Hospitals. Battlefields. If you only see our faces, you miss everything that makes us who we are. You miss our music that comes from joy and sorrow mixed together. You miss our stories about heroes who are flawed and villains who are human. You miss our science that asks questions even when the answers are frightening. You miss our philosophy that argues about meaning when meaning is hard to find. Shestrin's cloud swirled with colors Emma had not seen before. The Nephil philosopher drifted closer to the platform. I am not gorgeous, Emma continued, her voice growing stronger. I am a person who makes mistakes, who doubts herself, who stays up too late reading research papers and drinks too much coffee, and sometimes cries when she's overwhelmed. I am human, and that should be enough. She looked directly at Grenvex, the Tarxis representative. You offered to pay humans to live in reserves where you could watch us. But what would you be watching? People who gave up their purpose to be decorations? That is not humanity. That is a performance, a lie. You would be preserving something that was never real. Grenvex's branches rustled, but the creature said nothing. And to my own people, Emma turned to where Roger and Vanessa sat with other human crew members. If we sell ourselves as nothing more than beautiful faces, we lose the right to be anything else. We become what they pay for. We stop being scientists, artists, explorers, teachers, parents, friends. We become products, and products do not get to choose their own path. Nicole was staring at her from the crowd, her expression conflicted. Jake was nodding slowly. Henry had tears in his eyes. I want to propose something different, Emma said. Cultural exchange, real exchange. We share our art, our science, our philosophy, our history, all of it, the beautiful and the ugly, and you share yours. We learn from each other as equals, not as admirers and exhibits. We build relationships based on what we can create together, not on how we look. She gestured to the aliens assembled before her. You say you never had beauty in your cultures. Yeah, but I have seen the way Velthari crystals catch light and scatter it into rainbows. That is beautiful. I have seen Scaroth art that uses texture and shadow in ways humans never imagined. That is beautiful. I have watched Nephil colors shift to express ideas too complex for words. That is beautiful. Kirshala stood, the ambassador's full height impressive and commanding. Dr. Walsh speaks wisdom that shames us. We came seeking to appreciate beauty, but we did not think about the burden we placed on those we admired. We did not consider that to be valued only for appearance, even positive appearance, is its own kind of prison. Velcroth rose as well, scales glinting under the lights. My people are artists, but we forgot the first principle of art. It is not about the subject alone, but about what the subject represents, what it means, what it makes us feel and think. We saw human faces and stopped looking deeper. This is failure on our part. More aliens stood. One by one, representatives from a dozen species acknowledged what Emma was saying. But not all of them. Emma could see some delegations whispering among themselves, clearly unconvinced. Change would not happen overnight. Shesrin floated to the platform beside Emma. The Galactic Assembly should establish what we might call the Sentient Dignity Accord. No species may be commodified based on physical appearance. Cultural exchange must be voluntary, mutual, and comprehensive. Those who wish to share their presence may do so, but not at the cost of their personhood. Agreed, Kirshala said immediately. The Velthari support this measure. Other voices joined in. Within minutes, the foundation of a new agreement was taking shape. Not perfect, not complete, but a start. Roger looked frustrated but said nothing. Vanessa was already packing up her materials, clearly recognizing that her services would not be needed. Hours later, after the assembly had dispersed and the formal agreements had been drafted, Emma stood alone in the observation deck once more. She looked out at the alien ships beginning to depart, heading back to their distant worlds. Jake found her there. You did it, he said quietly. You changed their minds. Some of them, Emma corrected. Not all. There will still be people who want to treat us like objects. Human people, too, who see easy money and do not care about the cost. But you gave them an alternative, Jake said. That matters? Emma caught her reflection in the window glass. She looked exhausted, her hair was a mess, and she needed sleep. She looked human, flawed, complicated, real. Jake, do you think I'm pretty? She asked suddenly. He laughed. Emma, you're gorgeous. But that's the least interesting thing about you. You're also stubborn, brilliant, brave, and occasionally kind of mean when you have not had coffee. Good answer, she said, smiling for the first time in days. Her datapad buzzed. A message from the Velthari ship. Kirshala wanted to know if Emma would be willing to teach a course on human philosophy and ethics. Not as a beautiful specimen, but as a teacher. as a person with knowledge to share. Emma accepted the invitation. Outside the window, a young Velthari artist was broadcasting the first abstract artwork in their species' history. It showed colors and shapes that represented not physical beauty but emotional complexity. The title translated roughly to "The Beauty We All Carry." Emma watched it for a long time, thinking about how seeing humans had changed the galaxy. Not because humans were perfect or even particularly special, but because they had reminded everyone else that there was more to existence than mere survival. She thought about her own face, her own form, all the features she had criticized over the years. They were still the same features. Nothing had changed physically, but maybe understanding had changed. Maybe that was enough. "Come on," Jake said. "Lisa is organizing a celebration. First contact, and we did not mess it up too badly. That is worth commemorating." As they walked toward the mess hall, Emma realized she had stopped thinking about whether she was beautiful or not. She was thinking instead about the philosophy course she would teach, about the cultural exchanges being planned, about all the ways humans and aliens might actually understand each other. Being called gorgeous had started this journey, but being recognized as human, fully and completely human, was how it would continue. And that, Emma thought, was genuinely beautiful.